Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is At the Helm Sports. I am your host, Derek Helm. Thank you for joining me for episode 118. Please be sure to follow and subscribe on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave those 5-star reviews, would be greatly appreciated. If you are watching on YouTube, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Also hit that like button. Goes a long way towards getting us new listeners. Got a big tournament coming up next week in the Players, so more listeners, more viewers we can get. Always appreciated. Down in the comments section, let me know. Up top, who do you choose? Would you rather play Rory McIlroy or Scotty Scheffler? Or if you're playing both of them, go ahead. You could put that in there too. But kind of curious this week to see where people are leaning, whether they're going one or the other, or they're going to try and jam both of them in there. So put that down in the comments section. This week, we'll be diving into the 2024 Arnold Palmer Invitational. Quickly, and I mean really quickly, going to recap the Honda Cognizant Classic disaster that was. But joining me, we have Mike Carpanini. Mike, how we doing?
Boys, how are you now?
And Dave Utnick.
Gentlemen,
how we doing, Dave? So did you guys have a chance to watch the disaster of Honda Cognizant or anything?
Watched a little on Saturday. There wasn't, it wasn't that interesting. In general, saw where Rory should have taken a drop in the water on, 15, 16?
Yeah.
Instead decided to, get himself soaked with water and still ended up having to take a penalty. But
yeah, that was basically where I kind of mentally and emotionally checked out. It just, I had a couple DraftKings lineups that looked pretty good. Had a 5 of 6 that was way up there, and it was Rory, and then it was Bud Cauley, and basically at the same time of Rory doing that, Bud Cauley completely fell apart, and that lineup just went to absolute crap. But yeah, I mean, the tournament as a whole, obviously everybody freaked out on Thursday. We're used to it playing very, very difficult, and it was optimal scoring position or conditions, really no weather whatsoever, and everybody was just tearing the course up. So not what we're used to. I know a lot of people were not happy. Got a little bit more difficult as the weekend went on. And then the PGA just obviously completely mishandling Sunday. They could have easily got that in, but we have another tournament finish on a Monday, and obviously most people are working, including myself, and I didn't even get to see the end of it. Good for Austin Eckroat. Good for everyone that was on him. Just continue this terrible, terrible start to the season where, I mean, other people are hitting outrights, but I am not at all. Should have been on the Hideki one, but obviously wasn't. And it's been a rough start to the season. Do you guys have any thoughts as far as that goes? Just what it's been so far, these long shot winners. Dave, I mean, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, I had a minimum ticket last week, so was really hoping that he pulled it out at the end instead of Eckroat. But I mean, you kind of see it with the talent that has left the tour. It's kind of brought everybody a little bit closer together in terms of outright odds and, talent level for each of the players there. But I mean, we haven't had anybody sniff, shorter than, what was it? Jake Knapp was the longest one at like 40 to 1 at
40. Yep.
Basically an alternate event, an alternate mainstay event there. But, I've got a Hideki Live outright winner in the books already this year. So I'm not complaining just yet. But, I think this might be the week that somebody finally from the top of the board finally takes it down.
Yeah, I hope so. Because, I mean, forget about betting for a second. I mean, obviously that's the main focus. But just from a PGA standpoint, it's a disaster. I don't see how they get new viewers or new engagement from fans, and you're losing some of the lifelong fans as well. I mean, you could say what you want about talent leaving for Live, and obviously that makes a huge case. But I think the bigger problem is just the way the PGA has handled everything, every step of the way. It's just they reacted to Live and came up with these signature events, and they haven't worked out. And then now this year they're basically making them no cut events, and that hasn't worked out. And it's just, everything that they're doing, I mean, as as a sports organization, as an entertainment organization, you got to try new things, but it's just like no matter what they try, it's as if they have no idea what they're doing, and it's just reactionary rather than actually thinking it out and just saying, "Hey, this sounds like a good idea." Mike, what are your thoughts on all of it?
I said when we first started discussing live, I said probably this last summer. PGA shouldn't have changed any. Just be the PGA. The players who want to go play that live style can go play that live style, and the vast majority just be the PGA and fix the payout. Like that was the only thing that needed to be done. Incentivize the players. Like all this nonsense is so dumb, so dumb. So now you have this like hybrid of PGA with trying to, copycat or piggyback some of the dumb shit on live, and you're left in no man's land. Like honestly, like all of the players we love today were nobodies at some point. Like if we get a new crop of nobodies who eventually get to be fan favorites and stuff like that, like that Nap kid, I like, I think that Nap kid could be okay. Like let's see how the next 6 months, year, 5 years shakes out. Like why they're changing course, I just don't get it. I just don't get it.
And I think that's just in general, the PGA is tone deaf. They have absolutely no idea what their fans want, or even do they even care what their fans want at this point? Because
I think that might be what it is. Is just they're just they've they've been around for so long that the people that are still making decisions, it's just they are out of touch, but at the same time, they don't care. They're just collecting paychecks. They know the paychecks are going to keep coming. The sponsor money is going to come. But at some point, if they keep running this into the ground, it's not going to come.
See, I
It's
disagree though. I don't think they're like. I almost wish they were complacent, so this way they would have just left it alone. Like if they didn't care, they would have left it alone. It's like they're letting, whatever, if you want to call them old and stodgy and whatever, it feels like the fucking meme. Like, how do you do, fellow kids? Like, just either be the PGA, the old man PGA, or, if you really think you need to get fucking younger, which I don't think you need to do. Like Tiger was 20 at one point, like, Spieth, DJ, like all these players were kids at one point, like let them come up. But if you wanted to go that way competently. Like this is, you're just, like I said, no man's land.
And baseball had that problem also. And baseball was getting old, and baseball was more popular last year than it ever was because they made radical changes, but they were listening to the fans when they did it. They made stuff that the fans wanted. They wanted shorter games. And I'm not exactly sure what it is that PGA fans want at this point. But I can tell you one thing. I love seeing a cut. I don't, it makes some suspense to the event, especially for, DFS. No cut events suck. I would much rather be playing with a cut than, necessarily need the best 70 players in the world in a single event together. Give me 150 with a cut. I honestly don't care. I would prefer having a cut than having this style of elevated event, which is really going to show its teeth this week, I think, even more than Genesis, because there were a lot of miscuts to Genesis, even though it was only 10 to 15 players, as it relates to DFS players, at least. There was really heavy ownership in players that missed the cut. And going into that tournament, you were looking at, 10, 11 guys missing the cut? It ended up being more than that. But the way that this is going to be set up, I mean, 6 of 6 is going to be stupid high again this week unless, something the same happens where just all your chalk misses. But this is not what the Arnold Palmer Invitational is supposed to be here. We're basically playing a quasi exhibition. Yes, there's a big money up top, but everyone makes the cut, and that's no fun.
Yeah, it's basically the equivalent of a participation trophy. I mean, it's just you're glad handing all these guys just please don't go take the money from the Saudis. Here, just guaranteed money. Here you go. But you could have done that without changing the fabric of the actual tournaments. You could have just put more money in the purse. And
that's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. Like if you
and,
want,
and you know instead of 70 man fields, make it 100 and then cut to the 50. I mean, at least make it so that it's just completely reactionary and overreaction. It's At some point, something's got to change.
And there's no reason. I mean, PGA play has got the longest season. We play week after week with a very similar style of tournament. Did any of you guys watch the match?
I forgot it was on until I think there was 2 holes left, and I was like, "Oh
I,
shit, this is on."
I wasn't expecting anyone to watch, to any of that to be a yes, but it was kind of cool. Why doesn't the PGA take a week and do something different? They already killed match play. They killed all the other formats. Why don't they just do something different every once in a while where it doesn't need to be week after week, but we really replay the same shit week after week at this point in the same format? The stuff that means more has no cuts. Go in a different direction. Give me something that's a little bit different and interesting if you're really going to go out on a limb and try something, but this isn't it.
See, I don't know how like if you were watching golf seriously, like way back in the day, Shell's Wonderful World of Golf. And granted, like even it was on the tail end, even when I was on a kid, like I watched mostly reruns, but that was a one-on-one match play that they just kind of televised. Just they got 2 players together and hey, let's go play 18 holes and live mics the whole way through. And it was a cool thing. Like, they used to run reruns on the Golf Channel all the time I mean, they might still do, like, who knows? I'm not watching Golf Channel like I did when I was a kid, but you pre-tape all that shit in the where you throw it in there week after week, like new episodes, like season. It breaks up the monotony. Like something as silly as that would then kind of just draw you to the standard old Thursday through Sunday stuff. It's something different. It's something exciting. Oh, the guy that I saw this week on Shell, like I'm gonna go watch him play just dumb shit like that you could just go back to. It worked so well back in the day, like shit like that, like this dumbass match. What did they play in the match? I thought it was only like 12 holes, right?
It was 12 holes that was at night, but one good thing that they did is they put a mic on Max Homa, who's wildly entertaining. You talk about creating stars. I mean, Rory is not great on TV, but Max Homa's funny. It was entertaining, and they could really do this and almost embrace it. It was 12 holes. It was at night at a municipal course. Doesn't sound like much, but it was interesting to watch. I had it on his background, and, it was just something different. I kind of found it interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. And really, I mean, what you could do is, especially during the swing season, do one every week. The big names aren't playing in most of these tournaments anyway, so put them in a match each week. You have a different match with one of these guys, and Netflix is only going to do so much and show you so much, and no one's really going to tune into that unless they already care about golf. Whereas you can get new viewers when, obviously football has it locked down in the fall, but you put it on a Saturday night or a Friday night or even a Wednesday night and just put it on a night where football isn't on and get some engagement and get people seeing these guys and getting their personalities. And that's a way to do it.
It's how you create stars. I mean, the one thing that most of these tournaments this year have, even with long shot winners, is you've had stars somewhat in contention. So you're still highlighting some of these stars here, but ensuring that, the best players in the world make the cut this week. It's just not the way of doing it. But for the most part, I mean, the season's been interesting. You have stories. You have an amateur that's won. You've got guys coming out of the back of the pack that are just winning. I mean, there's still, the PGA still creates stories and could create stars. So in some of this, maybe it's good that we're even getting more player recognition from the back of the field. Players that we normally play at 60, 6K and around, that we know the names, but then they become more relevant to the general public once they've won.
Yeah,
also,
and
you gotta remember that it's the first weekend of March. And I'm guilty of it myself. Like, it's still just the first weekend of March.
Yeah.
We're talking, January, February golf here. So, let's see how this kind of progresses itself through, through the TPC, through the Masters, through the Open. Like, once we get into full-fledged spring and summer golf season, if we're still talking the same tune, first week of August, different story.
I mean, I'll be fully honest too. I'm sure if I had hit an outright or two, I probably wouldn't be as angry right now. But enough complaining. We can dive into this week. We have a signature event here. It's the fourth one of the year. So let's dive into the Arnold Palmer. Now, obviously, we're played at Bay Hill Country Club, as the name states. This is the Arnold Palmer Invitational. So Arnold Palmer is going to host it at Bay Hill. Now, Bay Hill is one of the longer standing courses that we've played. It's pretty difficult. 7,466 yard par 72 with Bermuda greens. There are 10 par fours, 4 par threes, 4 par fives. Now, all the par threes are pretty long. All of them are over 200 yards, play between 200, 230 yards. So those are going to be pretty difficult holes. The par fives are obviously the easiest on the course, with the 511 16th hole being the easiest hole on the course. I mean, it's pretty short. Most guys will be able to get there in two. Probably going to see a pretty high birdie rate and a pretty good eagle rate on that one. The closing 18th hole is the most difficult, with a 22% bogey rate and an 8% double or worse. So, I mean, you can have guys on Friday coming down the stretch and it looks like they're going to make the cut, and all of a sudden they get to that 18th hole and it could be some trouble. So definitely want to keep an eye on that. Also, I do think that it makes a little bit of sense from a showdown standpoint, that if your guys are going off of one, I think it makes a little bit more sense for birdie streaks and things of that nature, rather than starting off at 10 and then having to, make the turn at 18 to 1. It's a little bit more difficult. So just something to keep in mind there. There is a good amount of water here. Comes into play on 9 holes. Now, you can see it on a lot more holes than that. So just the sight of that water might get in some guys' heads, but comes into play in 9 holes. And there are 84 bunkers on the course as well. So definitely a lot of difficulty and a lot of hazards around. So strategically, you want to generally aim towards accuracy a little bit over distance. Now, recently we have seen bombers come out here and just basically try and put it out there as far as they possibly can, because they'd rather be hitting wedges out of the rough than hitting longer irons, because we do see a ton of long irons here. 30% of all approach shots come from 200 plus yards. So almost a third of shots are coming from them long irons, and you're gonna want guys that are good from over 200 yards. Now, obviously, as a result, hitting from further away, we have a lower GIR percentage. Greens in regulation coming in about 60%, which is about 6%, 5% lower than tour average. As far as driving distance goes, also, as I said before, most guys are kind of going for accuracy instead of power. So only 277 yards is the average drive here. So comes in pretty low. And then 64% of fairways are hit. The rough generally is pretty penal here. So you do want to play out of the fairway. And then they've shaved down the rough the past couple of years around the greens and around these hazards. So you'll see a lot of runoff into the bunkers or even into the water on a lot of these holes. And then the big thing is wind. I mean, we've seen it cause absolute carnage here on some of these weekends. If you go back through some of these tournaments, I mean, really, it's been the wind that basically has determined the outcome here. So you definitely want to keep an eye on that. Obviously, it can change pretty quickly, but as of right now, Thursday doesn't look too bad. Friday, a little bit more, maybe around 10, 15 miles an hour in the afternoon. And then Saturday, it looks like it's going to pick up quite a bit. We could see somewhere around 25 miles an hour. So not so much before the cut, but once we get to the weekend, going to see a little bit more. Maybe we see some carnage like we've seen in the past, but that's basically what we're looking at as far as the course goes for this week. But Dave, what are you looking for in golfers this week?
I mean, you pretty much hit it. Long irons, driving accuracy. Courses in Florida, you want to stay off the beach and out of the water. You want to make sure that you're hitting fairways just to be in position to avoid big numbers here. So pretty much in lockstep with everything that you covered. Ball strikers and accuracy, a little bit more emphasis this week.
Yeah. Mike, anything you want to add?
I mean, I always want ball strikers, but specifically here, it's you brought up wind, and I'm glad you did. The best way to, kind of work with the wind is to cut through the wind. So I want really, really crisp iron shots coming into a lot of these greens. More greens you hit, the less you have to chip. You less you have to be in the bunkers. Especially that, like you said, the 200 range. Nobody is proficient in 200 yards unless you're a good ball striker.
Yeah. So if we dive into the field, obviously it's a big boy event. We got a lot of the big names here. Up top, Scotty Scheffler, 11,300. Rory right below him at 10,006. But if we go from Ludwig Oberg up from 9,500 up, Dave, what are you thinking here? Who do you like in the higher end range here?
So I saw Scotty was playing around with a new putter, but it's the same putter that Mike uses, and I've seen Mike 3-putt lots and lots on rounds that we've played. So I don't know if that's actually a good thing or not, but him trying anything different with the putter at this point is a good idea. For me, I mean, outside of a couple bad holes from Rory, he was number 1 in tee to green last week. He played really well in general. I think this course sets up for him to, really do some damage. He complete bomber, but really, I mean, just his tee to green game is extremely strong. I like Victor Hovland. We haven't seen him much, but I think his game fits well for here, especially if he can hit greens in regulation and we're not playing from around the green much. And Xander Schauffele. Xander and Ludwig here both do a lot of what you need to do to win at this course. Accuracy and Ludwig is an absolute monster off the tee. So that's really where I'm looking. I don't like a lot of it up here. I think this is where, like you said to start the show, a lot of your decisions are going to be made more up top than down low this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And as of right now, I'm kind of leaning towards playing both Scotty and Rory, and the bulk of my lineups being with one of those two in it. I mean, you made the case for Rory. Obviously, both of these guys have great course history. They're the two best in the field for a reason, and I could see it. Maybe for once we come down to Sunday and these two are battling it out, but at the very least, I definitely see one of these two being up there in the top 5 or contending on Sunday. So I do like it quite a bit. As far as Scotty goes and the putter goes, I think it's a little bit less of an emphasis this week because it's not as much of a birdie fest, and these greens can be extremely fast and they can make some good putters look bad. So if it evens out the putting a little bit for the entire field, I do think that plays into his strengths a little bit more. So I do like Scotty, and as you said, Rory has just been striking the ball very well, has played this place incredibly well. So I like the two of them. Cantlay, if he beats me, he beats me. And obviously he definitely can, but I don't think I'm going to be able to get there. And then I don't think I want to play both of Hovland and Xander. Right now I lean Hovland, but I do worry. It's just, since he fired his short game coach, just hasn't been as good around the greens this year and just looks a little bit off. He hasn't been terrible, but hasn't looked like the Hovland we saw last year. So maybe he's still getting back into it. As Mike said earlier, it's still early in the year. So, I mean, he could definitely click, has played well here before. But as of right now, I don't know if I'm going to get there on him or Xander because Xander hasn't played well here, but he's played very well so far this year. So it's going to be hard not to click one of those two. And then Ludwig Oberg, I'm in 9,500. Hits the ball long, hits the ball straight. I think it's a great course for him, and I've actually made an outright on him. Bet Rivers actually offered me a 25% boost, so I got him at 25-1 there, and then I took the DraftKings boost as well, got him at 21 there. So I've bet Ludwig Oberg, and then actually might as well just say it, we're not in this range yet, but right below him, Jordan Spieth, I've bet him as well, 20-1. I like that number, and I do like him here. But Mike, what are you thinking here at the top?
I'm not going to be able to get away from Scotty like ever, for the foreseeable future. He's the worst putter on the first 5 pages of this, slate. and he's still the best player in the field, and it's not close. So, if he ever just finds a way to make a couple of putts, like it's runaways. Like it's crazy how different the last couple of years could have went if he putted. If you gave him Tiger level putting like Tiger 20 years ago, where he made absolutely everything he looked at, Scheffler would be on the same type of run. Rory, I agree. Like, I think he's coming into form. A couple holes go different last week. Could have been a very different tournament. I'm not. You guys covered the red. Like, I'm going to start a lot of lineups at Ludwig. I really do, and just fade. The lineups where I'm not trying to jam Scotty. Like, I think I'm okay starting at Ludwig.
Yeah, I think that's probably going to be my strategy too. Is Rory and Scheffler. And then lineups where I'm not doing that, I think I'm probably going to start with Ludwig, Spieth, and maybe even just start with the both of them. I said it. Spieth, fourth place, both appearances at Bay Hill, gained 8 strokes tee to green in 2023, 7.5 strokes tee to green in 2021. He's had several birdie chances last year, but just couldn't get there on Sunday. But he was close to the lead there and sniffing it before that fourth place finish. Also played well so far this year. 6th place last time out at Waste Management, 39th at Pebble, 3rd at Century. So like what he's been doing so far this year. Over the last 50 rounds, he's 11th in bogey avoidance, which is definitely needed here. And then top 24 in good drives gained and strokes gained off the tee, which generally we don't see that very much from Spieth. So that's promising. And he's also 5th in sand saves and 6th on par 5 scoring. So I like where his game's at. I like the course history, and I'm actually going to be playing quite a bit of Spieth. But if we move a little bit further down here, this is where it's going to get a little bit more spotty. Sam Burns has been up and down here. Miscut, 9th, miscut the past couple years. I do actually like Max Homa, though. He hasn't been great here, but 14th, 17th, and 10th his last 3 times. I do think that this is a course that fits him pretty well. But Dave, what are you thinking in the lower nines here?
I was looking into Colin Morikawa's course history here, and it doesn't look very good. But from what we've talked about so far, you'd think that this has to be a course that he would be a pretty good course fit here. I agree with you on Homa. He played pretty well here last year. Like came 17th, lost a bunch of strokes putting, so I think he matches up well for this course. Justin Thomas really scares me, especially off the tee on this course. I think, water is too much in play for him. He's a bit volatile. I guess we're stopping at 9s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not as high on Spieth as you are. And Sam Burns, I can't ever seem to get right. But Homa, and I'm going to have to dive deep a little bit into Morikawa here. Course history versus, current form isn't even that good, but I think his game matches well.
Yeah, statistically, he rates out very well in my model. When I set it to 24 rounds, he's pretty high up there, top 10. But as you said, missed the cut last year. I think he came 9th his first time here. I think that was a couple years ago, maybe 2020, 2021. So has a good finish here his first time playing, and then a miscut. So can't really make much out of course history. But as you said, just I don't know. He's been off lately, and similar to Hovland, it's just something not terrible, but just something doesn't seem like it's clicking for him. So I don't know if I'm going to get there. Oddly, it's very rare for me to say, but I think I'm going to go Homa over him. And in larger field GPPs, I actually don't mind Justin Thomas. As you said, it does scare me off the tee here, but I don't know. I at 9,000, if he's going to come in sub 10%, I think it could be a good leverage play. Obviously, missed the cut at the Genesis, but prior to that was on a tear. He was knocking on the door for some wins there. So I think I'm willing to go back. But Mike, what are you thinking here in the lower nines?
Give me all the Burns. The kid is on a fucking heater. So I'll just take that at 9, 9-3 and all day long. I'm still a believer in Homa this year. He had a couple of weeks there where it was a little rocky, but seemed to start putting it together last week. And same thing with JT. You're right. Off the tee scares me here. But especially if you're telling me he's low owned, and you guys know I don't give a shit. But if that's going to help kind of push him into some of my lineups, I think I'm okay with it.
Is he going to be low owned?
As of right now, he's showing only 10%. And I mean, if you look at the names around him, it makes sense. And actually, Zalatoris right now is showing around 16 to 18%. So looks like a lot of people are either going up top or actually dropping down to Zalatoris. And I'll actually be fading Zalatoris this week. I just hasn't really played well here. And I mean, I know he's been playing better since coming back off the injury, and this year he's looked good, but 53rd, 38th last time out. And I mean, you could say, well, he just came second at the Genesis. Well, last year he came 53rd and he came fourth at the Genesis. So the previous year he actually played pretty well leading in and came 38th. So hasn't really been playing well. And I don't know if he's going to be that highly owned. I'm fine skipping over him. And a guy that hasn't really putt well at all here, hasn't really putt well on the Florida swing in his career. So if he's going to get popular, I'm fine skipping over him. But Mike, what do you think for the 8K range?
I want Decky. I'm going to have a lot of Decky.
All right.
Yeah, I mean, nobody else was saying anything, and he was the, hoping Decky got. I just give me a ball striker here. I don't think putting's going to be super in play. Fleetwood's been playing pretty good this year. I feel like it's a Fitzy week. I have no reason to believe. I have nothing to back that up. But I just feel Fitzy week. And then Decky at 8, I think it's super. Like, what's his number this week?
50.
Ooh,
I've seen it down at 40 as well. So somebody's got to be betting him. 45. But as far as the DraftKings play goes, I don't think he's going to be very popular. So I don't hate it. I like the Fitzpatrick call. I mean, he's only missed 2 cuts in 9 appearances here, but otherwise hasn't finished worse than 27th. And 14th was his worst finish in the last 5 years. 4 top 10 finishes over that span. Second in 2019. He's never lost strokes putting on this course. Looked pretty good last week, except for a couple hiccups. So I like Fitzpatrick quite a bit. I've bet him a top 20. So I do like that. And then Cam Young has been on fire. I generally don't play him, but I don't know. It's definitely going to be a decision this week because 10th and 13th, the 2 times he's played here, and with the recent form, it's going to be hard not to put Cam Young in some lineups here. But Dave, what are you thinking in the 8K range?
I'm going to have to watch ownership for Zalatoris, but I do like him this week. I have 3 outrights in this range. Zalatoris at 43-1 with a 365 boost. Fitzpatrick at 35-1. And I just bet the number on Wyndham Clark at 55. I don't know if I'm going to play him on DraftKings. Might just stick with the outright there, but thought the number was just wrong.
Yeah.
I like the accuracy out of this range. Fitzpatrick I like as a DraftKings play also. Tommy Fleetwood and Tom Kim. Do like the Matsuyama call. His game just seems to be rounding out into form. And I mean, that Sunday that he won, he was just lights out, and that was the last time we saw him. So no reason to think that, he's not in peak form at this moment. It's really about it in the 8K range. I'm giving up on Sung Jae until I see signs of life. I never play Cameron Young. I'll dive into Jason Day a little bit, but probably won't get there either. Kind of stick with this 8,500 and above range.
Yeah, you make a good point with Sung Jae. I might just bite the bullet and play him just because I've been playing him all year, and it's it's cost me, but I'd rather be early than be late. And at only 8,000, I think it's a pretty good price. It's a pretty good course for him, but I don't know. I could be talked out of it. You brought up Jason Day. Actually, as I was writing my article, he was going to be my fade of the week, but looking further into it, I mean, he's been playing very well. Ninth place at the Genesis, sixth place at Pebble Beach, and actually been striking the irons very well. So I do think that you can make a case for him at only 8,200 with how well he's been playing. I think that's fine. Came 10th here last year, so I'm actually fine going to Jason Day, and I think a lot of people are going to skip over him. So at only 8,200, I think it's a pretty good price for what he offers. Anyone else we like here in the 8K, or you want to jump down to the sevens?
And I think I'm just going to bet Fitz every week until he wins, for what it's worth, because that's how I've started the year, and we're just going to keep riding that train.
Yeah, I bet him last week to win, and I was very close to doing it again this week, but I ended up going in the top 20 instead. So, I mean, if he wins, I'll still win some money. So I'm fine rooting for it.
Rooting for you on the for him to win it all, so you can win your top 20 bet there.
There we go. What did you get him at? What was the outright?
35.
Okay, that's not bad.
In this field, plus, shortened field, but it's really coming down to I bet him a few times this year already. He's been every week you have a case for Fitzpatrick, and I think he's gonna be the player I lose a whole bunch of money on if he doesn't win this year.
Yeah, that was Hideki for me last year. What was that, Mike?
He'll get one eventually. Might get two.
Yeah, it's generally the Florida swing where he plays well. So I could definitely see it being here. So definitely going to play him in DraftKings. If we drop down into the sevens, though, don't really like a ton, but I'm playing Pavone. He's just been so consistent this year. I definitely have to go there with him. 7,900. Chris Kirk in Florida is basically a must. 7,800. Corey Connors is going to be probably the most popular in this range, and I keep going back and forth on him. I don't know if I want to get there. Keep making cases for him and against him, so maybe one of you guys can talk me in or out of it. And then I do like Jake Knapp as well, 7,600. We talked about it, with the ball striking he has, it's possible he could be a stud, with the distance he has off the tee and the ball striking. I'm fine going there, 7,600. And then Keegan Bradley is also going to be pretty popular, but for good reason. I mean, the guy has just absolutely destroyed this course. 10th, 11th, and 10th the last 3 years. He's played 12 times, only missed the cut once back in his first appearance all the way back in 2011. So, this is a course where he is extremely comfortable. I've actually made an outright on him as well, 66-1 with 6 places. So that's really what I'm looking at in the 7K range. But Mike, what about you? What do you like here?
I think for the most part, the 7K range is you're dabbling all over, with the one exception being the Napper. I am fully on board with Knapp. I think he's going to be a stud. There's a lot of parts of his game that I just really, really like. I think he's 10 grand before the end of the summer. So I'm going to plant a whole big old flag there. But yeah, you said Kirk, I like, Bradley, I like it. Now, it sounds like these are all going to be chalk. Even if you want that, I'll throw a Benny on in there. Like, I think Lowry is playable, Connor's playable, Harmon playable. So, throw one out there based on what kind of salary you have in this range.
Yeah. And just to piggyback on Knapp, I mean, last 4 tournaments, 4th place, 1, 28th, 3rd. He's gained strokes on approach in all 4 of those tournaments, gained an average of 4.55 strokes in those tournaments. So, I mean, striking the ball very well, has 3 top 4 finishes over the last 24 rounds, 7th in bogey avoidance, 7th in sand saves, 24th in strokes gained approach, 22nd from 200 plus yards, and 28th off the tee. So everything you want here and recent form. I like Knapp quite a bit. But Dave, what are you thinking in this range?
I like Knapp also. but just, he is a 28, 29-year-old rookie. So we might want to slow down at 10K by the end of the summer, just for what it's worth. Corey Connors, good with his long irons. Been really good tee to green lately. I am going to play him there. I don't know how much of a ringing endorsement that was, but, he does hit fairways also. Benny On, I've been playing a lot of. He is a little wild off the tee as well. So that does, something you got to be in consideration of this week. Shane Lowry might just be on full-blown tilt after another Honda. How did he play here last year? Did he melt down at Honda last year too?
Yeah, that was Honda, but has not played well here. 67th last year, miscut in 2021, miscut in 2019. So not great for
Yeah.
Shane.
And he didn't play here after the kicking the balls of the Honda last year either. So I don't know if that's something that, I want to get myself into there, and he just doesn't seem to win. A couple names that you guys didn't mention. Tom Hoagie. Approach game has been really, really good lately. Field might be a little strong for him in general, but at 7,100, you could do a little bit, you could do worse. Eric Cole coming off of Super Chalk miscut. I think he's a good bounce back candidate. And your reigning champion, Kurt Kitayama's here at 7,300. Does everything right when he's on. So I think those are the names
Yeah,
that I'm
I'll
looking
play
at.
some Kitayama.
And Adam Scott's been playing really good too. He's here on an exemption. I got to look into his course history a little bit, but I think he's just been playing really solid golf this year so far.
Yeah, hasn't really played that well here recently, but it's one of those arguments of recent form compared to course history. So you can definitely make a case for him. I'm not sure I'm going to get there yet, but in this range, I mean, with how well he's been playing, it's definitely a good price for him. But I like the Kitayama call. Definitely going to play Hoagie. As you said, big boy event. I'm a little worried about it, but at 7,100, you don't really need a ton from him, and especially with how well he's been hitting them irons, and especially the long irons. He's first in the field over the last 24 rounds, over 200 yards. So I'm fine with Hoagie. And then Luke List, I'll sprinkle him in a little bit. Didn't really play well last week, but I do think that when almost a third of your approach shots are coming from over 200 yards, he's one of the better guys in the field when it comes to that. So I'm fine going with Luke List. But if we drop down into the sixes, Emiliano Grillo is a guy that I think you can make a case for, but I don't know. It's just so hit or miss with him. I don't know if I'm going to get there. Justin Rose, I mean, it's like from round to round, you don't know what you're going to get from him at this point. But if you're looking to dive down here, I think you can make a case for him. And then both of these guys are probably going to be ridiculous chalk at only $6,600. I don't know what DraftKings is doing here. Eric Van Rooyen is just, I mean, he's been on a tear lately, and I don't see how he doesn't push 20% ownership, or probably between 15 and 20. So I get that he hasn't played well here. Same with Minwoo Lee. Neither one of them have played well, but with how well they've been playing, when you have them down here at 6,600, I think a lot of people are going to click on them. But Mike, what are you thinking down here in the sixes?
I'm going to click on them. Those were literally the only two names I had to talk. Like, I'm going to try to avoid the sixes as much as I can, with the exception of Van Rooyen and Lee. Like, Minwoo, the win.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to play a lot of Rory and Scotty, so I'm sure I'm going to have some of these 6K guys, but just keep in mind, if you are building with Scotty or Rory, that most people are probably going to have one, if not both of these guys in those lineups. So that can get very chalky very quickly. That was rather difficult to say for some reason. Dave, what are you thinking down here?
When did they come out with pricing? It wouldn't even matter. I don't understand the 6,600 price tag on either of these guys. I'm really torn between full, free square and full fade. Not exactly sure what to do this early in the week with that one, but I think that's one of the bigger decision points on the week. Austin Eckroat, just 300 more. It's a really big win that he came off of. I'm not sure if I want to lean into him coming
On a
back.
Monday also, that worries me a little bit.
I'd like him to just do, I know there's an elevated prize pool, but he should just do the right thing and withdraw from the tournament so none of us have to play him. Another name here, Adam Svensson, completely imploded in round 2, but, everyone liked him coming into last week. And Sepp Straka, I like just on tough courses in general. But, man, the value that you have in Minwoo Lee, EVR, I mean, they're just much better than their the players around them. Denny McCarthy, decent pivot at 6,700, but you really got to talk yourself into reasons not to play these guys. And the only reason not to play these guys is strictly ownership. So I don't know which way that's going to run in my decision making.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm definitely going to play some of them. It's just probably going to pick and choose what lineups I throw them in. As I said, I don't think I want to pair them with as much as the salary savings is needed if you're playing Scotty or Rory. I'm going to try and go elsewhere. But I like the Svensson call, 6,400. I like the flop leg on him. I played a ton of him last week. He was one of my core guys, and obviously that didn't work out. But I do think that he can bounce back here. Great player with the irons, as we said with a lot of these guys, over 200 yards. He's top 10 there as well. So I do like that. And then totally forgot, skipped over Seabez. I think at 7,000, he makes some sense also from a flop leg standpoint. A lot of guys played him last week. I was not one of them, but obviously wasn't the greatest results, but I do think that he could play well here.
Who is David Ford?
Seabez cost me so much money last week.
Yes,
Seabez.
Seabez ruined a bunch of my good 5 or 6 lineups, but who the hell is David Ford?
David Ford. Well, let's check it out.
Webb Simpson. And how did he make his way into this field?
David Ford. Yeah, I have no idea. Well, apparently he's pretty good putting on Bermuda.
He's the Stoneman.
The only
looks like
tournaments
he played once last year.
He played the RSM and missed the cut in November, and then came 58th at the Barbasol back in July. So not much to go on here.
How is he in this field?
I have no idea.
Stoneman, but play Webb Simpson instead if you're going to do that, because I've never heard of this guy.
Probably shouldn't do that either. I mean,
CT
has been playing rather well.
You've heard of Webb Simpson.
Listen, most of these guys are going to make the cut this week. You could do worse.
Yeah, but that's the thing is if a lot of these guys are making the cut, you're going to need guys to do more than just make the cut. Because
and the very bottom of your DraftKings list are the only guys that are winning tournaments. So again, why aren't we playing David Ford?
So in other words, Jam, Seamus Power, Lee Hodges, Mackenzie Hughes. Now, CT Pan's actually been playing rather well. I kind of like him more if the scoring is going to be a little easier, but you can make a case for it with how well he's been playing. But I think we've pretty much
doing here. We're making a case for CT Pan. Show is over.
I mean, yeah, we're talking up Ford and CT Pan and possible Webb Simpson. I'm pretty sure that we jumped the shark on this one, but just to be fair, CT Pan, 3rd place, 28th place his last 2 tournaments, so not too bad. It's good times. But I think that's pretty much all we got for this week. Just to recap the bets, I have Ludwig Oberg at 25-1, and then also use the DK boost at 21. He's available 18-20 on most books. And then I have Spieth at 20-1, Keegan Bradley at 66 with 6 places. And then I have the Matthew Fitzpatrick top 20. Probably looking to add one more guy, going to add some matchups and maybe another top 20. So definitely check back for that. Obviously, you could check theHelmSports.com. Go to the My Bets tab. I'll have everything in there. Also, everything will be in the newsletter. But Dave, what do you got so far outright wise?
see. I have Will Zalatoris at 42.5 to 1. That's with a 30% boost. We have Wyndham Clark, 55 to 1. Matthew Fitzpatrick, 35 to 1. And over on Puerto Rico, we have Bobby Mack at 55 to 1. And I've also got a couple dollars on a Bobby Mack Rory double, because why not?
Yeah, I might throw something in on Puerto Rico, but I've been losing enough money betting one tournament a week, so I don't know if I'm going to do that yet. Mike, anything stick out to you? I know you said you liked Hideki possibly.
Decky at 45. I like the Napper at 50. I like Minwoo Lee at 40. I think that one's okay. And then I like, where did I see him? I'll take a stab at Sagith at 60.
Fair enough. Any parting words, Mike?
No, we're good to go. Good to see you, boys.
Absolutely. Dave?
Someone's got to find out how David Ford made it into this field. I want answers.
There you go.
You're on a computer.
And
Go to the Google.
if anybody knows, put that in the comment section as well. Because I don't care enough to even look it up. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, check out theHelmSports.com. Have the course preview up over there. The hardcore parkour was just submitted before we hopped on. So check that out. Sign up for the newsletter. Basically have all my content in there. Last minute thoughts on DraftKings. Have all my outrights. So everything you need will be in there. Check out themadlabmma.com. The second I make a bet, I go over there and make sure that you get the same number. So check that out. Obviously, MMA Mad Lab absolutely kills it each week. Huge card coming up this weekend. So definitely want to check that out. But that's going to do it for this week. As always, thank you for listening. And remember,
Just have fun out there.